Okay, so today we're working with parallel lines. Now, yesterday was the longest note. These rest of the ones are just proofs. Actually, this proof's only 1 page long. So, we're working with parallel lines, which we learned before were two lines that never cross, the same distance apart all the time. Think about railroad tracks. Railroad tracks that weren't parallel would not be very useful because the train would crash. So, a transverse line, okay, and I'll give away the answer right now. That's a transverse. And this is probably the one time in your life you'll use it, but that's okay because it's math and you need to know it. And your transverse will be used in different contexts throughout your life. But essentially, a transverse line is a line that cuts across two parallel lines. Okay, a line that crosses a set of parallel lines called transverse. Okay, you can see here it cuts across. You see here it cuts across. Okay, they're really convenient for finding solutions and finding angles. So there's how many patterns? 4 patterns? 3 patterns. 3 patterns I got to work with. Let me switch that letter because I just recognize it now. Okay. So if we take a look here, a Z pattern. Okay. If we take a look at a Z pattern, it's something that makes a Z, ironically. And it'll look like this. Here, here, here. Okay. A Z can also go backwards. So you could write your Z like this. Okay. And with a Z pattern, this indicates angles that are equal. In this case, you could, if you want to call it the most basic thing, it's the armpit angles that are equal. So what do you mean by armpit angle? Well, this 3 is kind of the armpit of the here. So that 3 is equal to the 6. So whatever measure that 3 is, that 6 is also equal. So over here, the 4 would be equal with the 5. Okay, and that's Z pattern. So which angles are equal using Z pattern? Well, this would be I'm just going to write it up here. I'll write it over here. So 3, of course you move. You always move right off the bat. On this side here, it would be the 3 and 6. And this side here, it is the 4 and 5. Okay. I encourage you to get a marker out and mark these off, right? So it creates a Z, and those two angles are equal. Okay. Which ironically make the 4 and the 5 equal as well over here, but not in the case of Z pattern. You couldn't prove 4 and 5 equal using Z unless you flipped it, like so, right? So F pattern. Well, we're going to make an F this time. Why does that keep going back to that size? So an F looks logically like this. Okay. Now you could also make an F. Oops. You can make an F look like this. Or I could make an F look like this. I go upside down, going this way. Or I could even go upside down, going this way. Okay. So what is equal here? I'm only going to really work with the yellow for you. Okay. If I take a look here with the yellow, this 4 here is actually going to be equal with the 8. So once again, if you want to be the ones that are covered, right? The 4 and the 8 are equal over here. On this one over here, it would be the 3 and the 7. Now, could you predict what green would be equal. So looking at this one here, what two angles would be equal? It'll be the 1 and the 5 would be equal over here. On this side, what do you have? If you figured out the 2 and the 6, you'd be right. So let's do some writing here. So let's use black first. So this would be 4/8, and this would be the 3/7. Now I could also, if I want to do the green, that would mean the 1/5, and over here it would be the 2/6 are equal. So you make an F and go from there. Now C, which angles are equal in the, so C pattern, the key here is that they add to make a 180. So let's make my C here. So in this case, my C looks like this. So that means 4 plus 6 equals 180. Okay. So I'm going to stop editing here, go back here because I wrote this wrong. So which two angles equal 180 degrees? Okay. Now, I could also make my, let's finish off this guy. Or I could make it go backwards here. So let's mark them both. So I could do this one or this one. So I'm making a C. But I could also go backwards. And I can make a backwards C that looks like this on both of them. The key here is the parallel lines are the main parts of your shape, of your letter. So in this case, what adds up to 180? In this case, the 4 and the 6 on this side, and the 4 and the 6 on this side would, of course. Then on this side, it would be the, I don't know why I'm doing it in green since it's just fully covered. Let's do it in blue. This would be the 3 and the 5, and of course the blue doesn't go with it. Hopefully you get the gist of it. So let's go here. What two angles equal? Well, 4/5 and the 3/5. It's supposed to be 4-6. Oh, one of you will email me telling I made an error. There we go. So here we go again. Answer sheet, nope, number 2. So we just did parallel lines, transverse line theories. Let's apply it. Let's not apply it with that big of thick of. So we take a look here. We have an unknown here. We have X over here. So you have to think about what letter can fit that. A Z, a C, or an F pattern. Well, a C and an F won't work because they stay on the same side. So we need to go to a Z pattern. And as you remember, the Z pattern, this angle matches this angle. So it means 110. So all we have to do is right beside that to get to it is Z pattern. Same thing with the next one. Let's take a peek at what letter we can use. Well, F and C won't work because they kind of stay the same side. So let's do a Z. And the two, for lack of a better term, armpits here go together. So this is going to match this. So that means that's 45 degrees. And we just write down Z pattern. Next one. Key with this one is when you see the C pattern is both numbers are inside the parallel lines. So that shows us when both things are inside, that shows us we're going to use a C pattern. If remember, a C pattern equals 180 degrees. So we know the total of the C pattern is 180. So all I have to do is take 180 and we minus off the one we know, which is 100, which is going to equal 80. That's going to equal 80 degrees, and we just write down C pattern. Now here, once again, we have both are inside here. So we're going to go with a C pattern looking the opposite way. If we remember that a C pattern equals 180 degrees, we just have to go 180 minus the one we know, which equals 110. So that's 110 degrees. Okay? And we have to just make sure we write C pattern down. Good. Now, logic would say we've done C, we did Z, now we have F. And logically you're correct. But if we take a look, first things first, are they on opposite sides? No. Are they inside the parallel lines? No. So then we're looking to an F pattern. And with the F pattern, this and this are equal, right? The two armpits of it, for lack of a better term. So that if those two are equal, that means that's 120. And just write down F pattern. Now, go through the opposite sides? No. Are they inside? No. So it had to be an F, but that doesn't look like an F. We kind of, sometimes I get kids to turn over their page. So if I were to like vertically flip this, it would see an F pattern, right? So that means this here equals this. So that means that's 50, and there's your F pattern. Now I know these all look coincidentally the same, but I draw it very accurately with my hand. So just, even though they look the exact same, that's why I always say trust your diagram, okay, over anything. Now here, so let's go through some here. You can pick whatever you want to do first. There's no right thing to do first, okay? But I like Z first. I like to start with Z for whatever reason. There's my Z pattern. So I know Z, that these two parts are equal. So that means this is going to be 61. That's Z pattern. Now, let's look for another pattern. So this time, I notice that they're both inside here. They're both inside, so I'm going to use my C pattern. If I remember, a C pattern is 180, so I'm going to go 180 minus 61, which is going to equal 119. So right there is 119. That is C pattern. Then my last one, I'm going to take a look here, and I'm going to go this way. I'm going to make my upside down F. Oh, F got away from me there. Because that means this will equal this. So that if those two are equal, that means this is 119 as well. And that is C pattern. Okay? So you just got to take your time. You could have done that backwards. I could have done the C pattern first, then the F pattern, then the Z pattern. But however way you go, you're going to get it right. I'm not too worried about you. So let's take a look at this next one. So I have 135 here. It's on the outside. So that tells me, okay, let's do an F pattern first. Kind of get this going. So those means that's going to equal this. So that means to me that is 135, and I'm going to use my F pattern for that. So now I have an inside value, but I don't have the other inside. So let's make a C here. And a C is 180 degrees. So I'm going to go 180 minus 135, which equals 45 degrees. 45 degrees, right there. And that's my C pattern. And then I use my Z Send her off. Not that big of a marker. Use my Z here, here, here. So that would mean this is 45 degrees. And that was Z pattern. And once you get used to seeing things in different ways, you'll see the answer a little quicker. So here's something that's going to kind of use all of our some of our ideas. We're going to cross some ideas. So first things first, let's take a peek here. And what can we use? These two lines are parallel. So we have an armpit here and an armpit here. So we could go here, like so. So that means this number is going to equal this number. So this is 53, and that's because it is a Z pattern. Oops. And just as we made kind of an armpit there, we could go back and do the same thing here. And we could go here, here, here. So this one equals this one. So that is going to be 68 degrees. And that's Z pattern as well. I have no clue that goes there. A pattern. Now here, this middle one, we don't have any parallel lines, but if we think back, opposite angles. So that's 47 degrees. That's OAT. That's how we finished off. Okay, so hopefully that all works for you. Have a great time doing this, and I'll see you tomorrow.